Hey, once again, everyone, it's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm, weather for Weather Geeks. This is the Valley's geekiest, nerdiest, most in-depth, detailed weather forecast video. Nothing like this out there for our area, that is for sure. We've been doing these videos now for 7+ years, around 7 years, since roughly the late winter, early spring of 2013. Hard to believe it's been that long. I've been with WFMJ since October of 2012. We started doing these videos probably 4 or 5 months after that, just kind of as an outlet for me to get my thoughts out there. I'm restricted by time on the TV side, and on these videos I can just blabber for however long I want. Let's talk about what happened today. It was a gloomy start to the day, that is for sure. This time lapse from Columbiana shows the damp, drizzly conditions at the start. Now the sky stayed pretty cloudy all day today, but that did not stop the temperature from rising pretty nicely. We got up to 50 or so in a lot of the valley this afternoon. It felt pretty nice outside despite the thick cloud cover this afternoon. The rainfall amounts were pretty paltry, especially south of Interstate 80. So 0.05 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch in some spots. A little bit higher once you're up into areas north of I-80 and deeper into northern Trumbull, northern Mercer. But well, I'll tell you, some of the modeling that was showing a 1/2 inch throughout our area a couple of days ago with this event, that modeling was certainly out to lunch. And last night I kind of said, I think we're going to be closer to 1/4 of an inch than a 1/2 inch, but some places didn't even see a 1/10 of an inch out of this. All right, no surprise here. Here's the latest update on the ice coverage on the Great Lakes. On the western end of Lake Erie, there's some thin ice. Ice coverage overall in Lake Erie is still below 10%. Even below 5%, I think, at last check. Some real thin stuff on the northern fringes, but hey, this is way, way below the average for this time of the year on Lake Erie and throughout the rest of the Great Lakes. You know what else is below average? It's the snow cover. Now, some parking lots certainly have some dirty snow piles left over from our snow late last week. But south of I-80, the pickings are slim when it comes to snow in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. Once you're north of I-80 and up into the northern Great Lakes, northern New England, as you would expect, there's quite a bit more snow on the ground up there. There's no snow on the radar this evening locally. We had our light rain and drizzle earlier on. That is pushed off to the south and east as a cold front has pushed off to the south and east. And in the wake of this front, temperatures, that's not exactly a hard freeze right now. Temperatures are slowly gliding back out of the upper 40s into the upper 30s as of 7:31. 33 Detroit, it's 25 in Green Bay, and then you get up into the real cold stuff where you would expect it to be in the upper Midwest and near the U.S.-Canadian border. We'll blitz through the next few days pretty quickly here. Not much going on locally. We'll have times of clouds and sunshine for our Wednesday. Northwesterly flow off the lakes will create some stratocumulus clouds at times. I think it's probably a little bit cloudier than our model is showing here. For a time around midday. The day probably ends fairly sunny though. Some clouds for a time, then tomorrow night into Thursday, we're getting missed by a wave of low pressure off to our south. And this low pressure along an old front is going to be enough to produce some snow in places that, do get some snow, but they can't handle a lot. And I'm talking about places such as Charlotte, North Carolina, over to Raleigh, Fayetteville, as far south as Wilmington, North Carolina. There's going to be some snow out of this on Thursday, and that'll push away by Thursday night. And for us, high pressure, sprawling area of high pressure by Friday. Actually, I'm going to zoom out here because this is kind of cool. The entire lower 48 states is basically dry on Friday. This is the weather map on Friday. With that high here, there might be some showers in South Florida and maybe a couple of flurries off of Lake Ontario. That is it. The rest of the country, it is quiet. Now, this is not an unusual looking weather map in, say, September, early October, but in February, that's pretty unusual to have the entire continental U.S. pretty quiet. We're going to see some cold weather for about 36 hours or so from tomorrow night through Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, we're getting up closer to average, and then beautiful start to the weekend. 46 and bright and sunny on Saturday. That's going to be a great day to get that car washed or do anything else you want to do. Sunday's going to be a little bit cloudier in the afternoon, but also pretty mild, kind of comparable to today temperature-wise. We're actually going to stay above the average, it looks like, through Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Our next chance for showers is on Monday. In the meantime, if you have friends or relatives down in the Carolinas, this is one set of modeling. I think there's probably a bullseye in eastern North Carolina, just east of Raleigh, Elizabeth City area, heading down towards Fayetteville, maybe as far south and east as Wilmington, even the Outer Banks of North Carolina, probably some accumulating snow out of this. For us, it is a goose egg in the snow department for the next week, probably even 8 or 9 days. It's probably until the end of next week before we see any sort of snow of any consequence around here. You know, maybe there's a stray flurry Thursday, but that's like a 10-20% chance thing at worst. All right, 8 to 14 day outlook here. This would be covering from roughly the 26th through the first couple of days of March, and there's increasing cold on the modeling for this period, end of February, start of March. Does it look crazy cold? No, but kind of a broadly cold or chilly-ish pattern for the U.S. around that very end of February, start of March. Someone commented on Facebook earlier, hey, this always changes. Last week it showed warm. Well, don't forget, this 8 to 14 day outlook changes, the coverage changes every day. So the 8 to 14 day outlook last week was covering parts of this week and this weekend when it is going to be warm at times. So this 8 to 14 day outlook will be the very end of February and into early March. How long will the cold stick around? That is the question. This is what we call the East Pacific Oscillation. It's off the European model, and this is an oscillation that for cold to punch into the east, you like this to be negative. And right here's the 0 line. Pretty strongly positive for the next week or so. And then you notice that the European is showing a prolonged period where it may try to be negative for a while as we go through the latter stages of February and into early March. That's an Eastern Pacific oscillation. Up in the Arctic, it's still just very unfavorable for cold in the east. The Arctic oscillation, you want this to be negative for cold in the eastern U.S., sustained cold, but it's probably going to stay very positive all the way through March. And similar to the Arctic oscillation is the North Atlantic oscillation. Also, negative numbers favor sustained cold in the east, and that is not in the cards. Now, I think the first week of March will likely be pretty chilly compared to the average. How long that sticks around, I don't have confidence on that yet. It's only the 7th or 18th day of February. We'll check back next week for some better educated stabs at the March outlook. But I think the first week of March, anyway, don't see a lot of warmth coming our way compared to the average. That'll do it for me tonight. Thanks for watching the Tuesday evening weather for Weather Geeks. I'll have a full weather update tonight on 21 News the 11. Don't forget you can get that anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app.